What is going on, everyone? Parsnip here, and today we're going to be doing something a bit different than the usual. And though this is not going to be a speed build, or actually it is going to be a speed build, however it is going to be very different than what I normally do. I'll go ahead and make this into a challenge. So maybe you know the Yawcast, and maybe you guys are watching the Yawcast playthrough that they're doing with mods, and they're like almost at 30 episodes right now. And I noticed that their houses and things like that are awful. So what I did wanted to do was go ahead and make a challenge for you guys or anyone that is interested. Even if you're not, maybe you'll enjoy watching this, but that is to pick a house from one of the 4 players. Either it's Jin, Tom, Filbert, or Duncan. Now, I really did want to go ahead and make a house for Duncan and Lewis. However, I thought that since Lewis's house is not even close to being complete, I'll go ahead and just improve Duncan's house. And maybe in the future, when I do see the house that, or the mage tower that Filbert, I keep calling him Lewis for some reason, is making, I could go ahead and put my touch to it and try to improve it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by, as you can see already in the background, what's happening is building the original house. I think I saw this house in episode 24, and it's almost identical. There are some things that are different, like one of the floors is a bit smaller than the other, and one's a bit higher. I confused the size since for some reason Duncan made his rooms different heights, as well as one of the statue, and anything that's related to the mod I don't have there, which if I'm not mistaken is a single crafting station that he has that's from the mod that I don't have in the normal Terraria. Now what I do is start changing the materials, right guys? So first and foremost, I think that using the materials that he did and just those materials would be too boring. The hard thing about this challenge is changing the build, making it look better, but not losing the touch that makes it theirs. So you still want it to end up looking a lot like the original build, so that when someone sees this, they'll be like, okay, that's clearly Duncan's build. You don't want to just change every single material in the entire shape of the build. So this was the first challenge, right? How could I improve this house without changing the entire structure? Now, I go ahead and decide that I'm gonna change the materials as well as a bit of the structure, mainly the bottom bits, which is just flat straight down. So I want to make the bottom bit a little bit thicker and larger, so that way it makes sense. You know, when you're building like a pyramid-ish styled house and things like that, you don't want to have like 3 floors or 4 floors, however much he has, completely straight. Another thing is that he has a railroad going through his house. Now I do at the beginning have that railroad there, but I decided to take it out because it doesn't make much sense, as the way he does have it set up in hard mode, or if you're playing expert, mobs will completely just go through that house and just kill all your NPCs and things like that. So you want to make sure you close it off a bit better than how Duncan has it. Now he'll probably do that in the future once he realizes that mobs can jump up platforms, it can still open doors and kill your NPCs. Another thing that I do change is the thickness of the bottom and pretty much every single furniture and back wall. So I use things like spooky wood, granite. I still wanted to use that same blocks that he did, besides the stone slabs, as he for some reason decided to make some stone slabs out of walls. He has normal stones under his 2 golden chests, which was super weird. He kept putting like different doors and things like that. All of that I removed and try to keep it looking closer to what I think a drow should have on their house. Now I did forget to add the cemetery, but to make up for that, I go ahead and put the surroundings completely black, which you'll see probably only at the end of the video. Now, I do go ahead and remove the statues, but I keep the lights. Again, I want to try to keep it as similar as possible, but changing it a little bit at the same time. So back to the materials, I use even stones bricks. I think it's iridescent bricks. The one that you make with mud. Whichever one that's called, guys, I'm sorry, but my pronunciation on games, especially a language that's not my native, is pretty crappy at times. So after I go ahead and change the entire first house, I want to go ahead and start adding the furnitures to this house. Now later I am going to make 2 more in the background, which is just going to be for background and aesthetic purposes, but I'll get to that in a bit. What I do want to have here is it to be a very functional house. You know, I wanted to have the crafting station with more crafting stations than what Duncan has. Again, I do not have the mod that he has or that anybody in the Y'allcast is using. So anything related to those mods will not be here, including the crafting station that he does use. So I go ahead and put that crafting station right there. I put a chest room near the bottom just so you could store your stuff like you would have in your normal main base. There's also enough room for a total of 5 NPCs. Actually, you could just put some more walls and make it into 6 or 7 NPC rooms and things like that. Of course, you could just make the room smaller and put even more if that's what you want. However, I didn't want to just make it NPCs rooms, a crafting station, anything like that. Thus, you can see the big spiral staircase in the middle, which I thought was a pretty awesome touch to add to this build. So guys, we could go ahead and start talking about the 2 back walls that you guys can see, or not back walls, but back houses, or whatever you guys want to call these. So what I do here is use 2 different sizes in paint. Now I made the smaller one darker by using black paint so that it looks like it's further away, and the one that's medium size I go ahead and make it gray so that it does not look exactly the same like the house that we have there in the middle, in the center, because I do want that to be the highlight of the build. So I painted all gray, so what you'll see is just different texture and stuff like that. I also do make the bottom floor of the left house and the right house solid so that you guys don't fall into it like hole where mobs get stuck there and stuff like that. And lastly, the surrounding is completely black. Now I use shadow paint for this effect, and I think it's pretty awesome that it just gives that extra touch to the build, the overall aesthetic of the build. It's not just the building, but what's around the building that also helps, like what Duncan has done with his house, and in the playthrough that they're doing is make a cemetery to the side of his house, which just adds that little bit of charm to his build. Now guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I really hope you guys enjoyed this build, or that you're watching the Y'allcast series. If you haven't, make sure you do, though they are awful at Terraria. Hopefully they'll learn a lot of things like building, or that armor sets are very important in the game. You shouldn't be making one piece of armor for everybody and having everybody using different pieces of the set. But yeah, if you guys don't mind the incredible rough time watching it, I'm sure it'll be a blast and a ton of fun for anybody that likes the Y'allcast. My highlight for that build is indeed Filbert. That's why I wanted to make his mage tower. However, since it's nowhere near complete, I don't want to just go ahead and improve a base tower. So again guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this challenge, and if you do make anything related to the Y'allcast build series, if you improve one of their builds, or if you add something that you think should be there, make sure to share it to me on the Terraria forums, on Steam, on Reddit, or even here on YouTube. Just leave a comment and I'll be sure to check it out. So as always, I'll catch you all next time.